questions that are burning. We're going to take a few minutes to take a few questions. Who's helping me with this? Dolly? Okay.
I guess that might be me.
Sister, you want to come forward? Or you want to stay there? You want to stay there? Okay, so we have generated some questions. We're going to start off with some questions for you,
All right.
Mr. Hamm, and the three of us, and then we're going to encourage other people if they have a question that they would like to ask. My question is, of course, I was particular about printing the picture of Dr. King in his clergy, in his robe on the purple sheet. That was purposeful. On the purple handout, you'll see that Dr. King has on his clergy robe, because I didn't want us to forget, again, as you said, Mr. Hamm, that Dr. King was a preacher of the gospel, and that many of the civil rights movement and the events came out of the church. So my question for you today is, how do you see the role of the church in helping to fulfill Dr. King's dreams of economic justice? That's my question. How do you see the role of the church today in helping to fulfill Dr. King's dream of economic justice?
All right. I think the church must play a critical role. I remember when Donald Tucker, any of y'all remember Donald Tucker?
Of course, yes, that's what you know.
I remember when Donald Tucker told me that in '68, after Dr. King spoke out about the war in Vietnam, that none of the churches in Newark would invite him to come and speak. Now, eventually, I guess some of them did, but he was saying that at one point they couldn't find a church because the media vilified Dr. King so when he spoke out against Vietnam. Now, at the end of his life, Dr. King was talking about economic justice. Where was he killed? He was killed in Memphis. What was he doing in Memphis? He was organizing sanitation workers. The sanitation workers were trying to organize a local of AFSCME to represent them because the conditions of work were so dangerous. What precipitated the sanitation strike in Memphis was one of the men had gotten killed in the garbage compactor. That's what precipitated it. So this question of economic justice was the last major question that Dr. King raised before he was assassinated. One of the things I would recommend is that the church read the mountaintop speech. Read the whole speech. It's a lengthy speech. We only hear the part on the radio. It doesn't matter with me now. I've been to the mountaintop, etc., etc. But that whole speech is about economic justice. It's about how to organize to get economic justice. I would recommend that as maybe one of the things you could take and copy and give to everybody, and tell everybody go read it, and then come back and have a discussion. So how do we fight for economic justice? Well, right now, one of the major fights in America for economic justice is to double the minimum wage. The church should support the doubling of the minimum wage from $7.25 to $15 an hour. That's important. But the church should go further and demand a living wage. We should support the doubling of the minimum wage. But I'm gonna tell you, $15 an hour ain't nothing to jump up and down about either. I mean, it's a start. But I'm gonna tell you something. I work for a living. I still work. So I wonder how some people make it.
Amen.
I know what they make.
Amen.
I wonder, well, how do they do it? You know? But they do it, and that's enough for me. So we need to be fighting for economic justice, doubling the minimum wage, supporting workers' rights to have unions. At the end of World War II, half the labor force in America was organized. You know how much is organized now? 7%. And for the first time in history, public workers have more unions than private sector workers. Now, why is this important? Because the middle class was essentially made by the union movement. Because when workers had unions, they could demand more. I remember my first wife that I married, I was married very young. I was 20 and my first wife was 17. My first wife she was only 17. Love was so brand new. Took vows of man and wife. Forever. Well, anyway. You know that song, right? But anyway, my wife, my first wife, was an auto worker at GM in Linden. She only had a high school diploma. But at that time, an auto worker at GM in Linden could make with overtime $100,000 a year.
Yes.
Somebody verify. Somebody be a witness.
Yes.
With overtime. Without overtime, they could make $75,000. Just their straight. But with overtime, which they could get often, because the company wanted the plant to keep going, they could make $100,000 a year. What happened? What happened? In the early 70s, the auto companies started shipping operations abroad because they didn't want to pay their workers a decent wage. So GM and Ford started sending plants to Vietnam, to third world countries where people made what, less than $1 an hour, even Mexico. And it's killed the middle class. So we went from the end of World War II with 49% of the labor force being unionized to now only 7%. So the way for workers to get more money is they have to have a union. That's what they bargained with. And now that workers are not unionized, they make, you know what they're making them work now at the plant? $15 an hour, $16 an hour. From $100,000 a year now to about less than $50,000 a year. So supporting the unionization of labor is important. And other side of economic justice is to make sure that black people get, and other people of color, and poor people get their fair share of business. For instance, many of the local government, the municipal government, the county government, the state government, they have what's called DBE programs, disadvantaged business. Some of them don't call it DBE, they call it SBE, small business enterprise. Now, the role of those programs is supposed to make sure that women-owned, black-owned, Hispanic-owned, minority-owned businesses get a cut of all these contracts that government have every year. Do you know how much African American businesses get from county government? Less than 1%. Less than 1%. So strength, and one of the reasons this is because the DBE programs were part of affirmative action. And affirmative action was challenged in the 80s and 90s. They gutted affirmative action. They gutted civil rights. They gutted voting rights through court cases. One of the famous ones that affected the business program was Richmond versus Crossing, where the city of Richmond was trying to do a set-aside program, and this contractor named Crossing challenged it, and he won. See, when people tell you the vote don't matter, it matters all the time. Because what happened? What happened from Nixon forward, they began to appoint all these conservative judges. So when these cases challenging affirmative action come before them, they rule against affirmative action. So now we're actually getting a smaller percentage than we got 40 years ago. So this is important. And then to help people start businesses, that's important. Patronize businesses, that's important. But I think one of the main areas that the church can help with is government policy. Because it's government policy that's killing, you know, but unless you have the information, you really don't know that. So supporting minority-owned enterprises, that's important. Supporting unions, that's important. Doubling the minimum wage, that's important. I saw an article the other day, and I'll get to the next question. I know I talk. But I saw an article the other day. Do you know that for every $1 that the minimum wage is increased, it causes a concurrent decrease in suicide? Do you know one of the leading causes of suicide is economic insecurity? And they actually got a formula. They know for every $1 that a minimum wage, that a wage is increased, it decreases the rate of suicide. Let me take another question. Yes, ma'am. Well, this lady was. Did you have a question?
Yes, please.
Yes, she and then you. She won't come up and answer.
Yeah.
She's part of the committee.
All right. I understand. Politics.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have a few questions, but we don't have a time, so I'm going to just base on one question, which really bother me. So my question is, as an immigrant in this country, some of us have a small businesses. And sometimes, some people come to your business place treating you as an immigrant or as you don't have a paper, and I'm going to give you a trouble. And the law say, anyone that comes to you about to give you trouble, you can call 911. So when you dial 911, 911 will ask you, is there anybody bleeding? You say no. Anybody has a gun? You say no. So they'll tell you, okay, we come in. They don't show up till 2 hours. And the person has already got you and left the place. What can you do about those kind of issues? That's my question. So
this sounds like a criminal justice issue, right? Crime and violence in the community. That's an interesting question. You know that in Detroit, the average response time, I think it was last year, 2018, the average response time of the police in Detroit was 7 hours. 7 hours. That's what happened. They had so much crime, but they lost so much of their tax base that they don't have enough money to hire enough police. So when the calls come in, they prioritize. That's like they said to you, is somebody shot, are they bleeding, etc., etc. So I think what you have to do in this case, what you just said to me here, you need to go, are you in Newark? Is your business in Newark?
Yeah, my business is in Newark.
Yes. The next city council meeting, you should go before the Newark City Council and what you just said here, you should say to them.
Wow.
Because this is a Newark Police Department issue. The response time is too long. And see what they can do about it. Because I know Newark is not in the shape of Detroit. So maybe something can be done. Maybe they can increase the patrols in your particular area. Are you downtown? Your business is downtown?
Bourbon Street.
Bourbon, okay. Okay. No, that's South Ward. South Ward.
Definitely side.
South Ward. So your councilman is John James. John James is the South Ward councilman. Yes. So you should reach out to him. Okay, I'm gonna get this lady in the gray, and I'm gonna get this lady in the white. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, as far as the church is concerned, my priority is the church. My priority is minority-owned business, because I would like to have a business of my own.
Yes.
And how do you suggest in going forward into the future, as we are transforming ourselves here in Newark, that we place ourselves in juxtaposition to government policy as a church here, who is supporting all these minority businesses around here, but has to make room for people like myself and you know, people who are interested in government policy, but not anymore.
I think entrepreneurship is very important, and I think one of the things the church could do is have some seminars and bring in some business people to talk about how they started their business, what challenges they encountered, if they're successful, what were the things that caused their success. You know, have some seminars with business people who are doing okay.
Okay.
So you know how to get your business going. And there are plenty of groups there, like there's an African American Chamber of Commerce, there's a Newark Chamber of Commerce, there's the, what's that office? Office of Small Business.
We have an education committee here, but it's just for Christian members.
Okay.
It's not about government, it's just an education workshop committee
Okay.
to help us to understand certain passages and county meetings a little bit better.
Okay. But I would recommend bringing some business people and let them show you how they do it. 1, 2, go ahead.
In what year was slavery abolished in New Jersey?
New Jersey was officially abolished when the 13th Amendment, in New Jersey, slavery was officially abolished when the 13th Amendment was passed in December of 1865.
1865?
Yes, people think slavery was abolished when the Emancipation Proclamation was issued. But the Emancipation Proclamation only offered freedom to those who were in the Confederate States and who could escape from their slave masters and join the Union Army. It really was a recruitment document. But the official abolition of slavery was after the Congress and all the states, the 27 of the 36 states, passed the 13th Amendment. And I think it became the law of the land on December 18th, 1863.
Okay.
Yes.
My second question is,
Yes.
in what year was America discovered?
Well, it depends who you talk to.
The Vikings came here in 1300.
What year?
1492, Puerto Rico.
Okay, Puerto Rico. Yeah. Columbus landed in San Domingue in October 12th, 1492.
92.
Right,
But that's not part of the United
Right.
States.
Now, but he discovered the Caribbean. He didn't actually discover North America. The first European settlement in North America was a Spanish settlement, actually in what we call today North Carolina. And that was 1525.
Why religious knowledge
St. Augustine is
taught
Right.
in the school curriculum?
Say again?
Why religious knowledge is not
Oh,
taught
because
in the
we have in
school-
America the separation of church and state.
Say that again?
Religious instruction is separate in public schools because of the separation of church and state. So religious instruction is for private schools, church-run schools, etc.
Okay, we're going to take just 2 more questions, very brief questions. You guys have been here all day, and I know you're tired. And we're going to take 2 questions, and then if you want to talk to Mr. Hamm after the fact, then you may stay some time to talk to him. Okay? All right. So
Stand up. You know what? I got an autism son. That cut you off. What you know about autism?
Autism?
Yeah, my son, 29 years old. I think we need more rights.
Yes.
I got 9 disabled sons doing it in a disabled setting.
Yes.
And my
Yes.
mother got him in.
Agreed.
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 Go ahead, Dolly. And this young lady back in the corner has had her hand up. Okay. So,
Hi.
keep your questions short.
Real short. I'm
And
really
your
short.
answers brief.
I'm short, so this is how it is. My name is Dolly Henry, and I work with Legal Services, and I'd just like to address one of the things that Mr. Hamm said about eviction, and I just want our people, or all people, to be aware that it's alive and it's well. So when you get these notices in the mail about your apartment going to court, do it. Follow up on, do not just take it for granted and throw it into the garbage. Because there is a major massive. They're trying to get rid of a lot of people out of these apartments. If you know, look around in your community, there's a big change going on, people, big. So we're going to have to play our role in taking care of our families.
Right.
Okay? So to you, Mr. Hamm, God bless you. Thank you. And maybe we learned something from you. All right. Thank you.
Jeanette, can this young lady back in the back?
Last question. Yes. Oh, you got Jeanette got it.
Jeanette, Jeanette, let this young lady go. You're the mission chair, please, because she's had her hand up a long time.
Hi, Mr. Hamm.
Hi.
I was just wondering, so you brought up the concept of agape, and I know you're running for Senate, federal Senate against Cory Booker. How do you imagine yourself bringing agape to Senate to help you work with people that might not have the same philosophical or theological or ideological principles that you have?
That's a good question.
That is an excellent question.
Wow.
I think I'm running on a progressive political platform for social and economic justice. I think the best way for us to move the human family forward is try to improve the actual standard of living of people. And so, for instance, the platform that I'm running on does the things that we already talked about: double the minimum wage, have a living wage for people in this country, Medicare for all. You know, I had an incident last week and I had to go to the hospital. And I went to the hospital, and before the doctors came in, before the nurses came in, the administrator came in, wanted to know if I had an insurance card. They let me know that nothing was going to happen. And there are a lot of people, there are millions of people in America that don't have any health insurance. We are the only industrial, modern, capitalist country in the world that doesn't offer universal health care to its citizens. Our next door neighbor, Canada, does. Our southern neighbor, Mexico, does. Our cross-Atlantic cousins, England does, France does, Germany does. Nobody worries about going to the doctor. But here in America, we scared, even us that have health insurance, we be scared, because if they send us to somebody that's out of network, then we get the bill. I had an operation once, and I told the hospital, I said, don't give me a surgeon that's not in the network. So they had this site that's right next to the hospital, Mountainside. You see it if you go on Bay Avenue. They said it's right by the hospital, we all in the network. They did that operation on me, come to find out they weren't in the network. I had to pay thousands of dollars for that operation I had because it's not network. So universal health care. The other thing we have to do, and I believe is in agape, is stop making indentured servants out of our young people. Wow. These kids, they ain't kids, they're young adults. They're going to college, they graduate from college with $50, $60, $100,000 in student loans. That's crazy. Let me tell you something. I had to mortgage my house 3 times for my 3 daughters to go to college. That was the only way I could send them. So when we finally sold the house, there was no more equity in it, because we took all the equity out to pay for our kids, and they still graduated with some student loans. This country is rich enough to provide free college at our public universities and colleges for all the young people that want to go. Because, you know, they say, well, there's not enough money. They want to make a war with Iran. Ain't nobody talking about money for that. They want to make a war with Iran. Like, we done had enough war, right? We had war in Iraq, war in Afghanistan. We 20 years, excuse me, 19 years in Afghanistan. We were only in World War II 5 years. We 19 years in Afghanistan. What are we getting for it? Nothing. It's a drag on our economy. That money should be used for housing, healthcare, employment, education. You know, eliminate student debt for these young people. They can't buy a house. They can't even buy a car. You come out of college, you get a starting job at $35,000 a year. And half your take-home pay got to go to the bank for your loan. You might as well not go to college. you might as well go on Amazon and got a job at Amazon, $18 an hour. You'd actually have more money in your pocket.
He replaced you with a robot.
And they're replacing workers at Amazon with robots. It's crazy.
Did he answer your question?
Jeanette, last question.
Did he answer your question?
Did I answer the question?
Okay, all right.
Okay. I invited you here, to our committee,
Thank
Missions Committee invited you here. And when we did invite you here, the minister and I did not know that you were a candidate for a senator, United States Senator.
Right.
But we were glad that you was welcome, we welcome you, and we're glad that you came.
Thank you.
Amen.
Yeah. Now, I also know that being around the Montclair area where you've been very active, you are the chair in meeting, that you are the chair of POP, People's
Yes.
for Progress.
Yes.
Could you tell us, excuse me? Okay. Could you tell us what do you all do in your organization? Because I know I've been to some of your dinners.
Yes.
That you've had a lot of people.
Yes.
Could you tell us more about it and how maybe some of us can join
Absolutely.
your organization?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a good question. That's a good question to end with. The People's Organization for Progress, we founded in 1983. People's Organization for Progress is over 36 years old. POP is an all-volunteer organization. We don't have any paid staff, anything like that. Everything we do out of our own volition, out of our own energy, our own resources. We don't get money from the government, from corporations, from political parties. Everything we do through our own fundraising efforts. The mission of our organization is to fight for racial, social, economic justice and peace. We meet every Thursday at the Abyssinian Baptist Church in Newark, right up the hill here, 224 West Kinney Street. Every Thursday at 6:30, our meetings are open to the public. We have only one requirement for membership. Do you want justice?
Wow.
That's the only requirement we have. We have dues, but we don't let dues keep people from coming. Dues are only $25 a year. We're not interested in people's ideologies, religions, and all that other stuff. If you want justice, you're invited to work with us. People say, what does POP do? We protest.
Amen. Amen.
That's what
Amen.
we do. We protest.
Amen.
I mean, that's not all we do, but that's most of what we do. And we've been protesting around a whole host of issues, particularly police brutality, over the years. But you can learn about POP. You can just, like, if you Google People's Organization for Progress, all kind of stuff will come up. Go to YouTube, People's Organization for Progress, all kind of stuff will come up. We do have a website, www.njpop.org. We have a Facebook page, People's Organization for Progress, so we don't work in secret. Everything we do is out in the open, and when the weather is warm, we're on Broad Market. Every Saturday doing voter registration. We do voter registration all year round. When the weather is good, we do it on the outside. When the weather turns cold, we come on inside, and we still do it at our different events and activities. Voter registration is very important. This year is an election year. And people, we got to vote. I ain't telling you who to vote for. I ain't even telling you to vote for me. I'm telling you to vote. Vote like your life depends on it, because it does. How many people in here get food stamps? Current administration cutting 700,000 people off food stamps. How many people in here on Social Security? Trump's 2020 budget has cuts for Social Security. I'm gonna tell you something else. They've been trying, they haven't been successful, but their ultimate objective is to privatize Social Security. And they're gonna do the same thing with that money that they did with the money on Wall Street. They're gonna gamble your Social Security away. I'm telling you.
They're trying to cut Medicare.
Cut Medicare. They want to cut Medicare. It's an abomination what's going on in this country. You know, for the first time, the gap between rich and poor in this country is greater than it's ever been in the history of humanity. This is not a joke. 3 people, 3 individuals in America have more wealth than the bottom 160 million. America has about 335 million people. 3 individuals have more wealth than the bottom half of those 300 million. It's crazy. And why is that crazy? Because if you look at history, whenever you begin to see these vast disparities in wealth and income, in the gap between rich and poor, that is a precedent, as they say, that is a sign for social upheaval to come. You're not going to have that kind of inequality and not going to be some kind of social dislocation or social response. That's what caused the French Revolution. You had that kind of disparity. You had a little bit of people at the top with all the money and everybody else on the bottom. Now, we used to have a middle class in this country, but the middle class is disappearing. You know, middle class is disappearing. Middle class people losing their homes, not to mention jobs. The working class is being impoverished, and the people that are poor are falling through the safety net. So we got to do something. Look at Newark. Look at all the hospitals that have closed in this community. Hospitals are a sign of the health of the community. We closed Children's Hospital, Presbyterian. That was some time ago. We closed St. James a couple of years ago. We closed Columbus Hospital. At one point, they were talking about closing University Hospital. But we kind of stopped that because we were up there protesting on Bergen Street. But you keep your eye on University Hospital. They talking about Beth Israel might close. In a metropolitan area of this size, if a major medical catastrophe was to happen, we wouldn't have enough medical institutions to adequately respond to that disaster. It's really something to think about, brothers and sisters. I mean, I'm 66, and I have not seen it like this in my lifetime. And this is a time for us to unify and a time for us to get active. You know, citizenship is more than just going to the polls and voting. You've got to be active. You've got to guard democracy in order for it to flourish. Thank you very much. I got to go. I'm going. I was at one church. I was at the radio station earlier this morning. I was in another church before I came here. I'm here now. I'm getting ready to go to the Bed-Stuy Restoration Plaza to speak there. Then I got to come back. I got to speak in Brick Church.
Let's show our appreciation.
No, I got to go. I got to get into.
Okay, all right. I was going to tell you. Thank you so much. Oh, we have one. Hold on just a second. Let us have a prayer out, and then you be on your way. If you have debris on your table that is yours, would you please pick it up and take it to the trash can on your way out? Because some of us have to stay here until this place is cleaned up. So if you have stuff on your table, please take it with you, throw it in the trash can, and that will help us out a lot. Let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we give you thanks and praise for what our ears have heard, what our hearts have felt. This has been so rich. We pray, God, that now that we have gotten the information, that we will take this information and we will use it and all become champions and better champions of social justice and economic justice in our community. Thank you for Mr. Hamm. Thank you for his time. Thank you for his sharing with us. And Father, we ask that you would bless us as we leave this place and not your presence. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.